Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. Let me know in the chat if you could hear me live. And it's going to be a fun episode today. We're going to talk about, really, it's kind of a public service. I'm going to talk about some of the Black Friday deals that are out there. Now, granted, I am going to tell you about some Black Friday deals that I'm promoting, but the bigger message here is around don't buy stuff that you don't need. And that's what I put in the thumbnail. I've been getting emails for the past month already about Black Friday deals, this and that. And it gets started earlier each year. It's kind of crazy. I think a lot of people are maybe numb to it, but I think if you're like me, like when I first got started, if you're earlier in your online journey, you're going to get a lot of emails. You're going to feel a lot of pressure to buy that deal while it's on sale. But the punchline here, I'm not going to bury it really deep, but if you don't need to buy the product, then don't buy the product. Don't buy the product to maybe use it in like a year or two. If you need it now, go for it. If it's something you've been looking at for a little while, that's cool too. But if you don't actually need the product in the short term, then I would not get it. And the risk here is you will buy it now because it's a good deal, but you won't actually ever use it or get any value from it, and you waste money, right? So that feels kind of bad. But it makes you feel bad mentally when you purchase something and you're thinking, oh, I need to work on that. I need to use that tool. I need to do something with it. But you don't have the time. You don't even have anything to use it on. So you're like, well, I need to do all these other things, these 5 or 6 other things before we even get to the spot where you can use the tool. So that's the message. I wanted to put that up front. I know it's not completely hypocritical, but I'm going to tell you about some deals. But don't buy stuff if you don't need it. I'm not putting pressure on you. There are deadlines, and I traditionally have not put any of my stuff on sale. I usually don't do that. Occasionally I'll offer a bonus. This year I'm not. I've created a list of some deals that are out there. There's a link in the description if you want to look a little deeper. I'll share that screen in a few minutes here. If you can hear me out there in the chat, let me know. It's always good to double check. I heard myself, which was good, but it's great to get real live confirmation out there. For me personally, I don't have anything specific on my list that I'm going to be getting this Black Friday, specifically in the online area. I'll probably do a little holiday shopping, which I don't normally do. I usually just like sporadically from like now until Christmas. I'm like scrambling trying to get gifts and all that stuff. So I may actually spend some time specifically on Friday to do some online shopping, get some gifts, get some stuff like shipped to where they need to go, and it'll be off my plate. I'll feel good about that. But overall, I don't have any other specific deals that I'm looking for. And I tried to add all the deals on the page, which, like I said, I'll start sharing here, but there's a link in the description that you could check out. I'm not going to go through everything right now, but I actually tried to put some different sections in here so it's a little bit easier to find stuff. And I know as I'm going in here, I actually ran out of time. There are so many deals that I didn't even have time to list them all. So I know one in the services area is Linkify, and they do Haro link building, and they did a great job for me. Landed links in like Yahoo Finance, Nasdaq.com, and I think 1 or 2 others. Really high domain rating links, and I didn't have time to list them here, so I will whenever we finish up this live stream. But there's some other great ones. One that I would definitely check out is hosting. If you're in the market to switch hosts. Typically, this week is the best time to get hosting packages. And one of the tricks, one of the things, and when I first started, what I did was I would get the 3-year package. That's how you end up saving the most money. So you get the 3-year, pay up front. So you pay 3 years up front, but you end up getting the steepest discount. And the thing is, with hosting packages, they will typically be cheap for the initial sign up period, the promo period, but then after that, it goes up a little bit. But the trick is if you buy it and pay all in advance, then you end up locking in those savings. And over at SiteGround, that's sort of like the primary hosting company that I use. They have, I think it's generally about 80 to 85% off, and it's live from the 24th to the 27th. Some of these are not active yet. I tried to list that as accurately as possible, but you can click over and see if there's a deal yet or not. Hosting is a great thing where you can kind of save for the long term, and I have most of my hosting accounts either with SiteGround or a company called MDD, which I didn't list MDD on here. Otherwise, it would just be too much. So one thing you could think about is hosting. Let me pop back over. I got some folks in the chat. Shaw, what's going on? Shaw says, it's been a while since I caught your live stream. Yeah, it's been a while. I took a little break for 2 months. Not intentionally, I just ended up taking a break from the live streams. I was out of town a lot, traveling quite a bit. And last week I kicked it back off. It was pretty fun. So we're going to bring it back into the mix here. One side note, one other thing that I have been doing for fun, essentially, is doing some portrait photography. So I have a nice camera that I've been using for YouTube and stuff. And I've always been interested in photography and camera gear and stuff like that since the 35 millimeter days. And I accumulated more gear, higher end gear to do video and stuff. And it sort of naturally happened. So one of my friends needed some family portraits, and he mentioned it, and I was like, you know what? I should be able to do it. I'm not a pro. I'll do it for free this first time and see how it goes. I'll edit the photos for you, share them with you, and let's see how it goes. So it went pretty well. And then they told some other mutual friends, and I've ended up doing 5 or 6 different sessions. Typically, most of the time, it has been family portrait sort of things. So sometimes there's kids involved, which are tougher to deal with, especially in a certain age group. The toddler age group makes it a little bit tougher, and I don't have as strong of a rapport with the kids to make them laugh and get good photos. And sometimes, right, there's a wide range of interaction and personalities with children and all people, but sometimes the kids were scared of me, and others thought I was great. And they smiled, and they were really good with photos, but some other kids were not as good. That said, I've also done some professional headshots for LinkedIn and stuff like that, and that has worked out really well too. The adults are much easier to deal with, and I can say some dumb jokes and they'll usually laugh a little bit, which is helpful. Not that you need people laughing, but it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. Anyway, it's been fun. And later on this afternoon, I am going to go out for a photo shoot. And this is for one of my friend's daughters for senior photos. So that's kind of fun. And like I said, I have all the gear, and I technically have the know-how. It is interesting, though, going through the process a few times, how I will mess up, right? I'll take a lot of pictures to make sure we at least get a handful of photos that do work, but I mess up somehow, and I learn something each time as I'm going through editing the photos or reviewing them to see which ones are the keepers, I see that I'm messing up, but the good thing is I am learning. So it's kind of cool to go through that process. We got Jason on as well. Good to see you. So anyway, that's been pretty fun to do. And there have been lenses, speaking of like buying things before before I actually needed them. I actually like purchased lenses over the years that were cool. I didn't have a specific use, but they would be fun to have around, and I would use them like once or twice, but then not so much after that. They have been fantastic to have as portrait lenses. And they were legitimately portrait lenses, but one of them, for the photographers out there, I got a 100 millimeter macro 2.8, which is great for macro photography, of course, but it's also a really sharp lens, really great to use for portraits. And I've been using that occasionally. So I've been able to use the gear that I wasn't really using so much. Sometimes I got like that 100 2.8. I was like, oh, I could do some longer shots, really blur the background when I'm doing YouTube videos. But I probably only used it one time for a YouTube video. And sure, I could do maybe some cool product photography or macro photography, but generally it hasn't come up, and I haven't like created projects to do it. But it's a great portrait lens, so that's one that I'll bring out today. Jill is on too. What's happening? All right, so let's look at some of these other deals out there. I'm going to actually pop over. I'm going to run through most of them here. Again, if you're just joining in, I know some people just popped in. The main opener here is, take a look at the deals. Only buy the things that you need. Don't buy things that you don't need because it's a good deal. I'm a really horrible affiliate in that way. I'm telling you, don't buy this stuff just because it's a good deal. If you need it, go for it. But if you don't, just keep in mind there's a strong chance you're going to be wasting your money. So when you get emails from all these different people, and by the way, I'm going to send a couple emails too, but hopefully they will have some sort of value or entertainment quality. So even if you don't buy anything, you'll get something out of it. So let's just go through. Let's do courses first. I do believe in education and like growing your skills, and I think one of the best courses that you can get nowadays is the on-page SEO course. That's by Kyle Roof. This is a huge sale. I don't know if they do this often, or I don't know if they've done it before, but it's $400 off. You save 50%. Essentially, this is, as the title says, an on-page SEO course. It is backed by 400 SEO tests that Kyle and or his team have done. The deal ends on the 27th. And basically, Kyle is brilliant. He has a ton of data, so not just things that he has observed once. These things are tested. He does the negative testing, and you could count on the information on this course. They also emphasize, if you actually do click over, this is a good time for me to test my links, huh? If you do click over, they talk about how this still works after the helpful content update. And it goes to show that there's some sort of timeless ideas that are in this course, and it works after the helpful content update, which really, really caused a lot of issues. So pretty cool, and you could buy this course, save 50%. Related, there is Internet Marketing Gold. So I don't want to confuse things too much, but I didn't put too much detail on the page, but the IMG courses platform is like Netflix for SEOs. So there's 50 plus courses there. And if you click the link, you can see all the different courses on here, including the on-page SEO course here. But if you don't want, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, right? There's 50 courses, there's SEO tests, there's Haro, web copy, SEO campaign process. There's tons of stuff, right? There's too much. It's a little overwhelming. But if you're advanced, if you're a pro, like this course could be perfect for you because you can go through, pick the things where you are focusing, right? So they do release a new course each month, and here's some that are on deck here. Definitely worth checking out. And they say you get $18,000 worth of value for only $97 a month. And you can watch them. You can go through the courses. There's a community. There's a lot of other details. So if you are really on the more advanced level, that's where I would recommend IMG because there are so many courses and quite advanced topics there. Next, we have Growth Cupid. That is my friend Shauna Newman's agency. The pricing is quite reasonable. When I interviewed Shauna, that was one of the focuses for her. You save 30% with code Black Friday, and a couple of things that are new. You get the faceless YouTube channel, right? So she will create the channel for you, get it set up with some content as well, and Pinterest management. So with the onslaught of Google updates, getting traffic from other sources like Pinterest is a really good idea. You could also check out sort of the core of what the agency works on is content creation and link building. And in fact, they have content with the link building packages. So it's a bit of a discount if you get those together. And they actually have full done for you sites as well. I've interviewed Shauna several times on the YouTube channel. You check out the latest update here on YouTube. And again, let's pop over. We can kind of check the link over here. So like I said, there's a ton of services. There's a lot of stuff on the little menu there. So we have all these services here. Backlinks, done for you sites, content creation, there's site audits and teardowns. There's a growth strategy service as well, and managed SEO, which I think that would be pretty perfect for if you ran an agency and you wanted to, I don't know if they do white labeling here, but anyway, the point is tons of services, save 30%. And generally the pricing has been going up here. So if you are interested in services, I would order sooner than later. We got Otis Global, source for premium age domains. If you join using my affiliate link here, I think when you open a new account, then you get $100 into your account. So you can check that out over there. As far as tools go, there's a few that I'll highlight. One observation, let me pop back full screen. So KWFinder, you can save 35%, and that includes all the tools, the whole suite from Mangools tools. But here's one thing that I've noticed this year, and I think it's partially the economy and the industry. The sales are better. So on this page, I use the same page each year. Highly recommend that for people. You could have a site, or on your site, you could have a page that's /Black Friday. And you have your deals there. You just update it every year. Don't put the year in there, right? Just put Black Friday. So I just update it. A lot of times I'm promoting the same tools because I'm continuing to use the tools. And what I saw was instead of a 25% discount, it's 35%. Or instead of a 30%, it's like 45% discount. So there are bigger discounts than there usually are. Not with hosting. Those look to be the same. But with the tools, I think the companies are trying to really boost the signups. And they're making it even cheaper. Additionally, and I'm not saying which ones, but companies are also boosting the commission rates too. So they're boosting the commission rates sometimes for specific packages, like pay 1 year in advance instead of a monthly fee, pay a year in advance. So they're trying to like get more people signed up, pay for a year, and they're hoping that you'll stick around after that when the renewals come through, right? So overall, the deals this year are better than I've seen maybe in the last 8 years or something like that. Just the level of discount that companies are giving. And almost, I mean, they're trying to match each other, I believe. You'll see in a second, there's some competitors with essentially it's comparable discounts, but often their packages are a little bit different. The service is a little bit different or something like that. But the deals are really good. So if you're actually buying something and you need it, then you'll probably find you save more. Highly recommend KWFinder. It is the suite of tools that I use, and there's a ton of them out there. A lot of them are super similar. I've used KWFinder pretty heavily since maybe like 2016, and I believe the keyword research tool, KWFinder, was the first in the suite of tools, and they've added more. One thing I'll point out is they do have a SERP checker, so you could keep an eye on your rankings, right? And then they have a SERP watcher, which I think maybe that more generally, well, you could find the details. I won't try to guess here. The link miner, where you could take a look at the backlink profile, and then the site profiler, where it gives you a lot of information about a specific domain that you put in, so that you could check out your site to see where you have gaps or things you need to work on, or you could take a look at your competitors as well. So the cool thing with KWFinder or any of the tools is you get the suite of tools. So really it's a marketing suite similar to some of the other full search engine marketing tools that are out there. So highly recommend it. It's worth checking out, especially with some of the other tools becoming more expensive, and you can lock in the discount. So this is one thing here with KWFinder and Mangools tools. When you get the discounted price here during Black Friday, you keep that deal. Some of the other companies, you get the deal for the first year when you pay for it, and then they start charging you more, the normal subscription rate, which, I mean, I understand why they do that. It's money, right? They're trying to run a business, but it's cool when you can lock in a discount. It's kind of like being grandfathered in if you're an early user of a tool and a tool is growing and you get locked in at that discounted rate. So that's kind of cool. Next, Ecamm Live. So I'm going to probably be promoting this a little bit more. It looks like I didn't update the code here. I thought I did. It's probably Cyber 23, so I could double check that. Maybe they tell you here. Maybe they don't. But I use Ecamm here for all these live recordings. It's actually like a complete like production studio that I could run myself. If I had a producer, we could do even more interesting things. They have these overlays, which I rarely use, and they actually have like animations and green screen kind of stuff. Let me show you here. Like, I think I created this little overlay here, but you could put graphics in there. You could actually put video in, and it's super powerful. I just don't use a lot of the stuff that you can do. Some of the stuff that I do use, live streaming, as you can see. I also do all of my interviews this way. I can use other software, stuff like Riverside, or actually use Descript for my editing and transcript and such. And there's a new tool that they've integrated with that does remote recording. But the thing is, I need to use Ecamm Live to get this killer video that we have here because I'm using a DSLR. And for my particular camera, like, I need to use this software. If I was using like Riverside, I would still be using Ecamm Live because it is how I capture the video. I do have this other like webcam over here, which I can turn on really quick. And I'm clearly upside down, which is perfect. That's what you want. And I'm zoomed way in. Let me turn this. Let's rotate it back around. There. So it's not horrible. And actually, because I have all the good lighting on me, I don't look that bad. It actually looks decent. But you could tell like the back isn't blurred as much. So it looks okay because I have all the lighting on me. But this looks like really good. And here's a little camera right here. And by the way, the little camera right here, this is the one that I've been using for my overhead cam, which is why it was upside down. And I will most likely be doing some more videos like this because it's cool to have the little overhead shot. Am I still upside down or is that right? No, I'm like sideways now. One more. Nope. That's right. There we go. So anyway, Ecamm Live is cool. You could put multiple cameras on, right? So I could actually hook up a few DSLRs and have different shots and control it all from like one dashboard. So very powerful, highly recommend it. It will link up. You could use this. You could use Ecamm Live as your video capture and then feed that into Zoom or Google Meet or any other software. So when people interview me on Riverside, I use this software to link up to Riverside or Zencaster or whatever it is, right? So 40% off over on Ecamm. I basically use Ecamm every single day. We have Page Optimizer Pro. That's 25% off. This is more of an advanced tool for on-page optimization, and it was created by Kyle Roof and his team. You could save from the 20th until the 30th. So certainly check that out. And there's a lot of like tutorials and education over on the site, so you can check that out there. I need to go faster, I see. Then we have Pure VPN. If you get the 5-year deal, you can save a pretty hefty amount. Oh, and Tony's on over from Simplify Gardening. All right. So let's pause real quick with all the deals. Does anyone know of a site or a person who has recovered a site in the last couple months? So they got hit by some update, they did some stuff, and it actually recovered. Typically, if people are not having issues, you don't hear from them as much. So if someone actually recovered a site, I'm super interested to hear some of the details just from a story level, right? It doesn't mean I need to like talk to them and interview them for something I'm going to publish for everyone. Maybe that would happen, but I'm just curious to hear the stories out there. So does anyone know, in the chat here, has anyone seen or heard about a site that recovered with one of the recent updates? One of the reasons why I'm asking is, I've gotten a bunch of emails in the last couple of weeks where people are still, they are trying to figure out like what to do. So we have the advice from, experts, and it's like high quality content, do the stuff that Google is telling us, maybe try some other stuff that Google isn't telling us, but seems to be helpful. And it's kind of the same advice that we've seen for years. And I don't know if that is going to work in the same way, or it's going to take a long time, right? The other thing is, even using those techniques, even if they work in the past, it would still take 2, 6, 10 months for the site to recover. So I'm not quite sure if those same techniques are going to work. You may have to go like beyond what we were doing before and really go like multi-platform. I feel like I've been talking all day. I really haven't, though. Tony says, nope, site still smashed, and you're working on it, though. And Tony, last week you gave like a lot of good sort of techniques, some strategies, some things that you were going to do to, try to reverse the trend. But the whole point being, people out there, let me know. You can shoot me an email, feedback@Doug.Show. If you have heard of a site or a person who has recovered, the only stories that I've heard where someone had traffic go up in helpful content or the recent core update, it was basically someone had neglected sites, and those sites kind of got more traffic, and they literally had not done anything for a while. So it is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. And I mean, you would end up most likely leaning on a course like the on-page SEO course by Kyle Roof, which we talked about at the top, you can get for 50% off. I suspect those things will help if they're good techniques to do. But if someone like you, Tony, if you were like, I implemented all this stuff and it looks like it helped a little bit, but it didn't recover to where it was. Maybe, like I said, you end up waiting until the next helpful content update before that stuff is reversed, which seems silly. I'm not sure what the point is in that, especially, I mean, I think a lot of people have voiced their issues with the quality of how the results have changed. And it's a tough thing, right? Because, I mean, maybe there's still decent results that have surfaced to the top of the SERPs, but have sites that maybe were doing as good, did they drop? Does that matter to Google, right? Or does it matter to the end user? That said, when I think about, like, when I try to look at results or whatever, I'm trying to get an answer to a question. Really, one of the last things I want is user-generated content, especially Reddit. It's like a bunch of morons like arguing with each other, and I don't know. I mean, usually it's not helpful because maybe they're not morons, but if they disagree, right? Let's say it's two experts and they're disagreeing with each other. Like, what do you take away from that, right? I guess it depends on what you're searching for, whether or not you're gonna actually find an answer. All right. Tony does say that Tony Hill turned around 2 of his and think it's mental, because how do you know if what you're doing works? Yes, exactly. I think it's very stressful. All right, moving on. Content at scale. I actually haven't used content at scale in a little while, but I know people are still checking it out. And the big thing here, basically, they created a tool where you put in the keyword and then you end up with a finished product, right? So you ended up with a fully formatted post that was sort of on-page SEO, spot on as far as like headings and all the content in there. Some people I heard from said the content wasn't as high quality. Sometimes it was a bit off. Other people said it did really well for the topics that they were going after. One of the claims to fame for this tool, Content at Scale, is they have what they call a complex mix of 3 AI engines and 2 natural language processing and semantic analysis algorithms. That is a mouthful, where so many of the other tools are just on top of GPT. So the idea here is you end up with a better result because you're going through a few AI engines and there's some knowledge behind it as far as the SEO formatting. Now, that said, there have been some pretty good advances with ChatGPT and GPT-4 and such, but it's worth it to check out content at scale. At least at one point in time, I think you are able to get some samples done, but they also have an AI detection tool, which is free over there, or at least a portion of it is free. So it's worth checking out. I already talked about hosting, so we'll keep going with that. I do get all my domains over at Namecheap, so it seems to be one of the cheaper deals. Next, we have themes. So my buddies Phil, Carl, and Alex created the popcorn theme. I think people that watch this channel know Alex at WP Eagle and Carl as well. And Phil is on occasionally. But popcorn's pretty awesome. You could save 25%. And really it is like the newer theme on the block created by users of themes where they're solving their own problems. Pretty fast. You know, they have the core web vitals in mind and speed, so it's built quickly. And I think, you know, Phil does a great job on that. I personally use the Focus theme most of the time. In fact, over at Niche Site Project, my other sites plus my podcasts, I use the Focus theme. It's the one that I have used for years. It's actually built on the Thesis framework, and that's the original theme that I got back in the day, which is crazy. So I've been using it like 13 years, and it's really fast. It's really simple. You can see there's, you know, no frills on this. It's minimal, and it's what I like to use, and that's why I've used it over and over again. Next, we're moving on to plugins here. And by the way, let me know if you have any questions out there or other things going on that you want to talk about, because we're coming toward the end as far as deals here. Oh, Joanne's on too. What's going on? So we have Link Whisper. Like I said, some of these are not live yet. So it's 24th to the 28th. You could save $30 and you could lock in the discount for the lifetime of your subscription. I'm told prices are supposed to go up next year, so go ahead and get it now. I've used Link Whisper since it first came out. And when it first came out, I actually outranked Spencer over at Niche Pursuits for something. And I did note here that was a while back. I'm pretty sure Spencer outranks whatever I outranked him for, because he's put a lot of effort into it. And he has a team, and there's a bunch of people writing content for him. So Link Whisper will help you add internal links, especially relevant ones. And there's a bunch of other stuff. There's actually some cool reports that you can run. And I think you could identify like broken links, and you could find orphan pages, and there's a few other things you could do as well. But you can save $30 and lock in that discount. Again, another one that you could lock in the discount. Next, we have 3 tools that will help you add affiliate links. So Lasso will help you create, they actually have really nice displays and in-depth analytics. I just emailed Jamie at their marketing team and checked in on the tool that should migrate site stripe images to probably feature boxes. I'm not 100% sure. He said they're almost done. They need to do a little bit more testing, but it should be rolled out soon. So if you use site stripe, Lasso will be probably the perfect solution. There's another tool called, what is it called? Affiliatable. And that tool should help you. It's a little bit more manual. There's a recent blog post that I published, which I could pop over to it in a minute. It's fairly manual, but it does do it in somewhat of an automated fashion. My understanding, I have not seen what Lasso is doing. My understanding is they're trying to do more of a push button situation. Their deal goes from 23rd to the 27th. and you get a bonus when you buy an annual license. All right. So if you get a 1-year annual license, you pick one of these. All right. So you got Query Hunter, Link Whisper, Cuppa, you got Peak Serp, My Content Pal, and Popcorn Theme. So if you buy an annual Lasso license, you get one of those. If you buy 3 license, then you get 3 of those. So if you have a few sites where you can use a tool like Lasso, then you can get some cool bonuses here. All right. We also have Links Pro. The deal is from the 24th to the 27th. You could save up to 45%. A lot of these tools are very similar. Lasso does have analytics and such, but the tools are very similar. Same with AAWP. You could save 40% here from the 24th to the 27th. And they help you put in links, feature boxes, comparison tables, all that kind of stuff. Very similar, very different pricing, I think, once you dig into the details, but I would check them out. And that is all. I think I went through everything here. You can check out more details if you want to go have a look. The link is in the description there. And Wild Garden Expert, Andrew, what's going on? Any recommendations for plugins for speed or image optimization? Great question. I think I've heard a lot of people recommend WP Rocket. I think that one does what you need. Helps you with caching, helps you with the image optimization as well. I think there's also some, like if you embed YouTube videos, it won't download the full iframe. It'll just get the thumbnail and then save you some time there. Whenever you embed a YouTube video with an iframe, I think it slows your site down fairly significantly, or at least it used to. So I would look at WP Rocket. I think I used to be an affiliate for that, but I can't remember what I think I often use. Oh, actually, Wild Garden Expert Andrew, check your hosting company. So Niche Site Project is hosted at MDD Hosting, and they have a specific software running on the server, and so it's a light speed web server. So they have a light speed caching plugin and speed optimization plugin. So I use that for Niche Site Project and anything that I use at MDD Hosting. SiteGround also has their own caching plugin, so I use that one. So Andrew, check with your hosting company to see if they recommend one that specifically works well on the kind of server that you have. Image optimization could be, totally different, totally separate, but sometimes the caching plugin will have some image optimization set for you. Good question. And then the thing is, if you use the one from the hosting company, then you know it's going to work. You know it's going to do a good job, and you won't have any software conflicts on that end, although that's a little bit probably rare overall. All right. Let's see here. Any other questions out there? I'll be making a turkey. We have a Friendsgiving situation coming up here on Thursday, and I smoked a turkey for another Friendsgiving a couple days ago, and it turned out great. So I was like, I'll do another one. It turned out really, really good. So I'm going to do that. I actually need to, I'm pretty sure it was, I thought it was completely thawed when I purchased this turkey, but when I moved it into the refrigerator, I was like, it feels like it's still kind of solid. So I'm not 100% sure if it's totally thawed out yet. It should be fine. I have plenty of time to cook it. But one thing I'm probably going to do, I typically in the past I've brined my turkey, so I put it in a cooler with some sugary, salty brine water and let it sit for like 24 hours. And I've thought about just doing a dry brine, which I've done with other meats, and it turned out fine. The other thing is when you buy a turkey, typically, if you just buy like a regular turkey, like nothing special, typically they will have a brine solution that they're stored in. So it's kind of already brined. And I have wondered, am I like, I mean, the turkey turns out fine. So if I'm double brining, it doesn't matter. But it also makes me think like, do I need to do that? I don't know. Maybe I don't. And I can save a little time by not brining it, time and effort. The dry brine, much easier. I can just put like my salt and seasoning all over the bird, and then put it in the refrigerator. Cover it up pretty good. You don't want the turkey to be just loose in the refrigerator there. That would be a mess. Yeah, and Tony says, make sure it's thawed properly. Don't want to be ill over the holidays. Yeah. So the big thing is like, I think you can cook. I mean, you don't want to do this, but like if the turkey isn't completely thawed and you try to cook it while it's still partially frozen, it'll just cook a lot slower. The good thing is I'm going to start like many hours ahead of time, as I've cooked a lot of big pieces of meat, smoked, barbecued, and stuff like that. My main advice for people is to start cooking sooner than you think, because you can keep it hot. So Tony, what I'm saying is, as long as it's 90% thawed, and maybe if it's a little frozen in the middle, and I wouldn't necessarily know that, but I'll be starting soon enough that I'll be able to cook it. And I have a couple temp probes that I put in different parts of the bird. So I'm like monitoring the whole time. But it's good advice. No one gets sick. Make sure you cook it all the way. I'm a big proponent of using a temperature probe so that you don't overcook the meat and that you don't undercook the meat. And you don't want to wait either, right? So the first couple times that I made like big pieces of meat or tried to smoke something, I ended up being like out. I mean, you hear this story all the time. I'm smoking my first brisket, and then like people end up eating at like midnight instead of 6 p.m. because it has taken much longer than they expected. So I just start way early. All right. And Joanne says, happy Thanksgiving. We did a rotisserie for the turkey on the barbecue with your own marinade. Awesome. Sounds really good. Yeah, what I did, I had I brined it and then cooked it on the smoker. But before I put it in, I made like a compound butter and put it underneath the skin there, so it kind of bastes in the butter. And I put a pan underneath it to catch the drippings, so I was able to make really good gravy with the drippings. Of course, you separate the fat. You don't want all the fat in there. But I made this awesome turkey stock that I cooked most of the day. So I had this really rich turkey stock to also make the gravy. And it was so good, kind of smoky, really delicious. All right. I think that's it for today. Please check out the deals. If you're not signed up for the email list, you can sign up. There's a link in the description, but if you just go to Niche Site Project, click the green button, enter your name and email address, you'll be in there. And one thing I'm going to do, so for the core audience, thanks everyone for being here. When I hop off of here, I'm going to go ahead and publish a segment of an interview that I did recently with Tony Maritato. The episode is not going to come out for another week or two. I can't remember when. I think it's like 2 weeks. But it is a super interesting approach to using ChatGPT to write content. He's been able to publish about 50 articles per month with information from peer-reviewed journal articles. He's a physical therapist, so he needs to make sure the information is accurate, and he's putting his name on it. The cool thing is the technique that he has used with ChatGPT to get ChatGPT trained on the journal articles, and it will take his input as well. So he ends up with a very high quality article, I think around 1,500 words. It takes him about an hour, and he's using ChatGPT, and he's able to do more than one per day, which is amazing. So he's aiming for 50 per month. So I'm going to publish that little segment, and keep an eye out for the full interview coming out soon. All right, so everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Thanks for popping in. I'll be back next Tuesday. We're back on track, and hopefully we'll get some guests lined up. I've asked a few people, but they were busy, and some of the usual suspects that you've seen around, but folks were busy doing this or that, or they're in the middle of testing something before they want to share their story. So we'll catch you next week. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday, Black Friday, all the deal.